I think that's it. Welcome to the Joko, and welcome to our special guests, Matsemela and Mwezi. We've been gone for a while, right? I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago. Tasha and I did a little Joko update. So for any of our subscribers out there wondering where we've been, we're trying to pick back up and get regular again. And we're starting that with this current Hands of Uhuru update. Mm-hmm. Before we get to that, before I introduce our guests for the evening, we always acknowledge that we know we do this work on the unceded lands of the Tongva and the Chumash in this settler colony called Los Angeles, part of the settler colony called California, part of the settler colony of the United States, which is trying to make itself a global settler colony, really. Mm-hmm. And we always want to acknowledge that. Besides the importance of honoring the ancestors of this land and their descendants who are still engaged in the struggle, it's just good political education, right? That people need to recognize, why does the United States support Israel in the way they do? How having a little bit of all that. We were having some spinning on the screen, but I ain't worried about it. But anyway, right? It's team settler colony, right? They got to be on the same side. And Palestine is illuminating that for the world, right? So we want to always acknowledge that, and again, remind people that we too live in a settler colony, even if we are an internal African colony within that settler colony.
Right.
So as I was saying, tonight, Hands Off Uhuru update, some information on the Uhuru 3 and their Southern California tour, very excited about, and in conjunction with African Liberation Day that's coming up this weekend. So with that, let me introduce our guests that we are so happy to have back with us. We are joined by Mwezi. Mwezi joined the African People's Socialist Party to turn over her skills to the Vanguard Workers' Party under the leadership of the African working class. In her capacity, she serves as the administrative assistant to the Office of Chairman Omali Yeshitela and leads the Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa defense campaign, counteroffensive campaign. Mwezi is a proud African woman, a lover of African internationalism. She believes Africa and her people will once again be free and self-governing in her lifetime. And she is the mother of two of Africa's best daughters. And we are also joined by Brother Matsemela. Dr. Matsemela Odom is the international president of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement in PDT, and Black is Back Coalition Steering Committee member. He is a Black Studies educator at San Diego State University and other schools, including San Diego City College and San Diego State College. Odom has published numerous articles on the history of Black people throughout Southern California, analyzing the civil rights and Black power movements, police brutality, segregation, the crack cocaine epidemic, hip hop music, and Black resistance. And we are happy and fortunate to have both of you with us. So I'm going to turn it right over to you, Mwezi, for an update on the counteroffensive where the case is, etc.
Great. Thank you so much, Brother Youssef. Just wanted to really salute and appreciate Joko Collective for this opportunity to be here once again to, be amongst the people. As we said, we recognize that we are here on stolen land, and that part of the work that we have to continue to do is to struggle in the interest of all, working class and oppressed peoples, so that we can all experience a life that is free from suffering, and that nothing that we do in this lifetime comes at the expense of anyone else. And so I just really want to
Yeah.
appreciate that introduction, and the opportunity to be here. And as has been stated, my name is Mwezi, and I am um, really have the honor of serving as the chair of this really dynamic campaign that was initiated on July 22nd, 2022. This was when the United States government realized that that uh, that that well, they know this, but that again, the African liberation struggle is alive and well, and that African people want to be free, and that everything that from all the predatory wars and everything that the United States government and its allies are doing around the world, that it can no longer hide, and that the people are clear on what is happening. And part of what they did on July 29th, 2022 was to attack the African liberation movement as it exists here in the United States, in St. Louis, Missouri, and in St. Petersburg, Florida, um, where they raided 7 homes and properties of the African People's Socialist Party. And this included the home of Onezene Yeshitela, and who is the deputy chair of the African People's Socialist Party, Omali Yeshitela, who is the chairman of the African People's Socialist Party, as well as other members of the Uhuru movement, both in the African People's Socialist Party and in our Solidarity front as well. And so what happened, and this was 2022, so we are coming up on almost 2 years of this fight to now, at the point of last May of last year of 2023, the United States government indicted both, all three, Chairman Amalia Shatella, Penny Hess, and Jesse Neville, on very bogus charges of being these agents of a foreign government, because the Uhuru movement, and Uhuru means freedom, for over the past 50 years has worked to advocate for the liberation and the unification of Africa. And as we said, we are forcibly dispersed people everywhere. And so these charges, these very bogus charges on the Uhuru 3 came again, like I said, 9 months after these attacks, after these very violent attacks, which you can see on our website. And again, these charges carry prison sentences of up to 15 years each, for Penny, Jesse, and the chairman. And we have been in this fight back. We have submitted motions to dismiss the charges against the Uhuru 3, which again, just continue to reveal the ongoing and escalation of attacks on free speech, and the freedom to organize, the freedom to struggle for the liberation of Africa and African people, indigenous people, all colonized peoples of the world. And so we are now at the point when we are facing trial. We are expecting to go to trial in Tampa, Florida this year, September 3rd. And I know at some point I can say more about where people can go, but I just wanted to say, if you go to Hands Off Uhuru, that's handsoffUHURU.org, on our homepage, you will see a big green button that says Take Action, and that will take you to the page where you can do anything that you can in your capacity to support this fight back, whether it's sign the petition, whether it's donate, because we have this huge, legal fight that we have to, wage with the state. And, it costs money to hire lawyers. It costs money to, take this out in the world. And these are the type of resources that the people don't have, but that the United States and other colonial powers around the world, as we can see, are using as a weapon against the people. And so we want you to go there to that website, and also to sign up to come to the trial or to support the trial in any capacity. And part of the work that we do here in San Diego, California, and in other places around the world is to take this case out into the world, let people know that it's not just an attack on Chairman Omali Yeshitela or Jesse Neville or Penny Hess. This is an attack on free speech. This is because we deal with a very, as you said, a very shaky government that is in crisis, and it just can't even
Mm-hmm.
stand to hear what we have to say. And one of the things that the chairman says is that not only is it an attack on our right to actually say what's happening in the world, but it's an attack on the people's right to even hear it. And so that has been part of our process, part of the struggle that we've been in for the past 2.5 years. But this is a struggle that the African People's Socialist Party and the Black liberation struggle, the African liberation struggle, since we were first kidnapped, and since attacked, over 600 years ago, that we've been in this struggle and that we're still here. And this is just another fight that we are going to win. Very confident that we are going to win, but we can't do any of this without the people. So just wanted to give that overview, and at the end I can also drop in the chat wherever how people can sign up, but they can go to handsoffuhuru.org/trial if they want to go ahead and fill out the form to say, yes, I want to be involved in either being in Tampa on September 3rd or however I can help, wherever I am in the world. So, and I just wanted to say, I wanted to appreciate Joko Collective, because this is the kind of, these opportunities to be able to talk about this is really important, because, we have experienced almost like a media whiteout that we've been really pushing through to get this out in the world. So I just wanted to appreciate you, Tasha, and Sister Jamila as well. Uhuru.
Well, you're welcome. And you've been emphasizing, or the Hands Off Uhuru has been emphasizing the freedom of speech aspect, right? This freedom of expression, which certainly since this past October, and the resistance of the Palestinians has been put on display, in terms of the attempt to shut down any criticism of Israel and its behavior, etc. But this was already an issue, though, because this is a free speech issue that predates October 7th of last year.
Right.
So what specifically, how are they specifically deciding that Chairman O'Malley, Comrade Penny Hess, and Comrade Jesse Neville are suddenly agents of a foreign government? Where was that coming from, or how they even try to justify that? Right.
And I mean, and part of what, like you said, this is nothing new. And part of being, colonized is that when you're under oppression for, hundreds of years, you're always in the struggle, engaged in the struggle of fighting for your freedom. And whether that is running people for elections, which is something that the African People Party, African People Socialist Party has done. We have ran candidates. Jesse Neville was, one of them. Also, Akile Anayi, who is our director of media communications, also ran for city council in the city of St. Pete. These are some arenas that the African People's Socialist Party has been engaged in terms of fighting for the democratic rights, fighting for the position of power, and when we talk about power, as Chairman says, and as we know, power is the great equalizer, right? So it doesn't matter what you say about me or what you think about me, but if I have power, you don't have the power, and you cannot determine my future, and so this is part of, just like electoral, the electoral campaign is one of the things that the party has done, very successfully, as well as the, struggle raising up the demand for reparations to the Black community, saying that, reparations is simply returning back what was stolen. And these are just, very simple facts. Like you said, we are here on stolen land. African people and Africa has been looted. And these are just some prime examples of the work that the party has done over the years, and as well as continue to build economic institutions. The party has over 50 economic institutions that help to bring power. Oh, we paused.
Yeah, I did pause. Every time I look down at the computer, it says the Wi-Fi is fine, but it keeps doing something weird. Maybe we're being interfered with. I don't know. It's just weird how it keeps happening. But but we caught
Yes,
the gist of it, right?
and so just
Yeah,
the point that all of this is not being led by, by the African working class, by African people, but that there has to be some foreign agent, some foreign government that is, that is helping us to understand the world, and even informing how we, how we lead our struggle. And so the Russia thing, has not just, this is nothing new. Also, this is something that has been used
right.
historically. And as you mentioned, even just what is happening in Palestine, and the war in Ukraine, this defensive war that is, that Russia is fighting. These are also things that the African People's Socialist Party, and many people who understand the history have, put out in the world. And so this is what they are saying is not our voice. This is the Russians telling us to, do this. And so this is part of that, this is, and that charge is one of the ones that is, up to 10 years in 10 years of the sentence, and another 5 for conspiracy. And so this is what that 15 years means. And I do want to see if Comrade Matsemela has anything to also add. So appreciate that question.
Yeah, Uhuru. In 2014, 2015, I think Chairman Omali Shatella published the book An Uneasy Equilibrium, and it sums up the moment of colonial crisis. And so you asked the question, why now? Well, the truth is that 30 some odd years ago, when the Berlin Wall came down and the Soviet Union collapsed, the United States believed that, and the Western Bloc, the Atlanticist group believed that they had, they was high stepping to the end zone. People remember Leon Lett when he was high stepping to the end zone, showboating, and then the ball got swat out of his hand before he got to the end zone. The United States has had the ball swatted out of its hand. It thought it was high stepping to the end zone, and now its global hegemony is being challenged by the realigning of the world against the Atlanticist group. This does not suggest that every force that is aligning against the Western imperialist powers are revolutionary, but it does underscore the loss of Western hegemony. It's not a coincidence that around the time that they attacked the African People's Socialist Party, that reports had come out that no African countries and a majority of Africans in the United States did not support the NATO U.S. war in the Ukraine. Zelensky, whatever the guy's name is, had held a press conference, and I want to say of over 50 different, flag independent states in Africa. Less than half a dozen showed up. I remember and even the largest of countries that we clearly understand as neo-colonial, abstained. So it's important to understand that the attack against the African People's Socialist Party is an attack against Africa, because we represent a force of Africa speaking in its own voice. That's why African Liberation Day is important. When we were attacked, that was the 50th anniversary of the African People's Socialist Party, formed on African Liberation Day, May 25th, 1972. So the summer in which we were attacked, we were in the middle of celebrating our 50 years. Chairman Omali Yeshitela's Oxford debate speech given in 2019 has seen by well over 10 million people in Nigeria alone. I can't meet Africans from Nigeria who haven't seen the Oxford debate and do not recognize Chairman Omali Yeshitela. So we know for a fact that the attack against us was a way to attack Africa and the independent voice of African people rising up. And we see that as well over 100 years worth of strategy, going back to Marcus Garvey, to Malcolm X, and even to Dr. King, of whom we didn't necessarily share the same tactics, but Dr. King believed in struggle. Dr. King wanted Africans to be free. And at the moment that Dr. King criticized American empire, Dr. King got his death papers written for him.
Yeah, that's right.
And
As he was getting increasingly radical.
right. So I just wanted to say that the why also
We are having some tech issues.
Okay.
And I'm not sure why we're having the tech issues, but we'll just soldier through them because the message is coming through.
Okay. Can you hear us?
Yes, can hear you.
Okay.
So yeah, you can continue.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that the other aspect of the why, the work that we do, as well as the weekend weekend hegemony of the United States. But they say a hit dog gonna holler. I don't really know exactly what that means, but I assume that basically the United States is already a hit dog, and it's lashing out against us. Is a representation of its own weakness. It is a dying system, but it's fighting to class for dear life. However, Palestine was an important way to start this off because of the fact that no one would have expected that 7 years later, this small strip of land off the coast of on the northeast coast of Africa would still be fighting.
We're having some audio trouble. Let me see. Okay, all of that's good. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can still hear you. We haven't.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, you can hear. Okay, good. Yes. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. We're like I said, the message is getting through.
Great.
Because I don't know if I wanted to ask you anything. I just, I'm struck by the year that you mentioned, 2014, because that was the year of the coup in Ukraine, was it not?
Correct.
That the current, let's say, fascist-friendly government.
Right.
So so it just struck me, right, as that's the year, right, and the folks, and indeed the presidential administration, right, that was supportive of that particular coup in Ukraine, even if the current president was the VP then. There's some continuity there.
Right.
That's correct. And even going all the way back to the late 1910s, and understanding that this struggle in Ukraine, it didn't begin in 2022. It didn't begin. It goes even back even further than 1919. It goes all the way back towards 1919. But also for us, underscoring that it's even deeper than that, right? One of the things that we put out was so I just think that that's important. Africans walking around the United States with colonial last names don't have Russian last names.
Right.
We got French last names, we got English last names, Dutch last names, Welsh last names. It's probably more Black people with Welsh last names in the United States than there are white Welsh people in the whole world. Names like Davis and Davies and stuff like that. So, and Jones. This isn't any Jones exactly. This is so this isn't a slander against those people, but it's a reflection of the colonial mode of production. And those names represent the tag of colonialism, the loss of our identity and the giving of another identity to us. I was doing some research on Shaquille O'Neal because I was on the Shaquille side of the Kobe Shaquille thing. And I remember researching him, and then click on his last name, and then it comes up Clan O'Neal, and then it talks about how Clan O'Neal goes back hundreds, if not thousands, of years in Ireland, and we have dying, long-lasting solidarity, undying solidarity with Ireland. But Shaquille O'Neal is not Irish, so for them to list him as part of their clan, here's one of the best centers in the history of the game, and now they can claim him as a part of their victories, as a part of the name, their fame. So we're not even talking about just the most flagrant of colonial things. We're talking about the fact that they're able to even claim Shaquille O'Neal, as opposed to Africa claiming Shaquille O'Neal.
That's right.
So in almost everything we do, representing producing value and wealth for them, and a loss of value and wealth for ourselves. And that's why this week is so important. Really, the week between the birth of Malcolm X and African Liberation Day is such an important week to center on the struggle for African people. Also, the birth of Ho Chi Minh, Lorraine Hansberry, and Yuri Kochiyama.
Yuri Kochiyama, that's right. So speaking of this week, right? Because the tour is coming to Southern California this week. So what about? Can we get some more information about the Uhuru 3 tour?
Yes. So the Uhuru 3. Omalia Shatala, Penny Hess, and Jesse Neville will be here in Southern California starting tomorrow. That's starting on May 23rd, which is a Thursday through Saturday. Exactly. And so we have some events taking place. We're going to kick off the tour in Los Angeles, and then we move on until Saturday and Friday in San Diego, California. So on Thursday, May 23rd. So for all information about these events, you can go to the Hands Off page, handsofuhuru.org/events, and click on each event. You can also go to uhuru3tour.eventbrite.com and get your free tickets for all the events. They're open to the community. As I said, in Los Angeles, we're going to be at the District 9 Council Center. This is in South Central Los Angeles. And I know you comrades, and the community will also be there. And then on Friday evening, we will have an event, a special reading with the chairman. This is in San Diego, California. And then as we just finished talking about African Liberation Day, our African Liberation Day celebration will take place in San Diego Saturday evening, Saturday, May 25th. Which is, again, the day, during the month of the founding of the party. And it will be at 6 p.m. at the World Beat Cultural Center. And all these events will have, an opportunity to meet, members of the movement. We'll have, books and T-shirts and other things that you can do, to support the work. We are, going to be raising resources so that all of this is taking us towards the, trial. And these tours are being sponsored by, a lot of, really powerful organizations in Southern California, who have come together under this, banner, and even this, as we call it, this Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back Coalition, which is a, organization of, a coalition of over 40 organizations who have, really, one, united with the call to drop the charges on the Uhuru 3. But like we said, to, stop, the funding and the genocide, in Palestine, same thing with the, US-NATO war, hands off Cuba. I mean, taking out all of, free our political prisoners. All of these struggles are coming under one banner. And this is who we expect to see at this tour. And we want people to go to uhuru3tour.eventbrite.com, get your free tickets to sign up for these events. And let's continue to just fight this, push this fight back towards trial so we can be victorious. Yeah. We can get back to, building in our own interest and, getting like closer and closer towards freedom, which is here.
Right.
Yeah. Which is, so that's, I like the way you put that, because that is part of the tactic, right? To keep the resistance tied up in court, so you can't be doing the work in the street, can't be working with the people, and tying up the funds, right? The funding that it takes to go to court.
Yes.
So you can be using those funds for liberation.
Right. And, you want to have a tour that, to have a tour is not just, we're not just doing this because we're touring, Southern California. This is part of the fight back. And like you said, part of the tactic is to, derail even all the funding and the resources and the energy that would go towards building. And you can see the work that the African People's Socialist Party has done in St. Louis, Missouri. Like, this was ground zero of the raids. And I really, as we say, encourage people to go to St. Louis, Missouri. This is the place where if you're not familiar, there's this, giant arch, right, in St. Louis. And this arch, represented basically at a point when the colonizers felt that they had killed enough of the indigenous people that they could really open it up, open the West. It's known as the gateway to the West. And so this is where the party has decided to really start to build and concentrate all of the economic development projects on the ground in North St. Louis, which is the Black community, where, you will see an area that looks like it has been, it has definitely been abandoned and, but almost like you look at war in Ukraine and see these images of these, communities. And this is, without, as the chairman says, without having even been bombed out, this is how this community looks. And this is a really important projects around health, for African families, and, safe recreation for the community, housing for political prisoners, farmers markets, food in an area that is known as a power desert, as a food desert. And this is where we have built. And so this tour is to help us, drop these charges so we can get back to building those, those institutions as well. So I just wanted to say, like you said, these are some of the tactics. So.
Thank you for that. Matsemela, I wanted to ask you a question, and really thinking about you, really both of you, right? Your role as teachers, academics, and actually, I was trying to be very deliberate by using the term teacher rather than academic. But I was just, I guess it was sometime last week, listening to this this interview, and actually, I think the scholar was from Egypt. He was talking about a friend of his, so he's working here somewhere in the United States, right, at one of the colleges. One of his colleagues was under fire, right, from his institution, just for bringing up the term and asking students to understand the concept of settler colonialism, right? Not even pointing fingers at anyone, but just, let's talk about what it is, and receive censure, right? So, I'm curious about that aspect of it, if you've seen it, or, how colleagues might be dealing with pushback on campuses. We know that the students who are in resistance have come under fire, but I think there's less reporting about faculty, staff, and even some administrators that have tried to take sometimes not even a radical line, right, but just just a more humane line,
right, to try to educate,
right?
Well,
Go ahead.
We've seen Professor Tiffany Willoughby Herard at University of California, Irvine, who I've worked with to put out an edited volume on the U.S. and South Africa anti-apartheid movement recently. We saw her brutalized by the UC police and for standing in support of students and standing against genocide. But these struggles aren't new. As a graduate student myself, multiple times I had my own little campaign against the UCPD and eventually moved off campus because of and where rent was fairly inexpensive for families because of the fear that the UCPD were going to kill me. Or I was going to have to kill one of them. I mean, that was the reality of the situation. So I say this because, as you know, as a Black academic, we're not removed from the struggles, or we shouldn't be removed from. Now, some people are sort of actively trying to struggle and to remove themselves from the struggle, but there are also people who are on the right side. as you are, as I am, as Mwezi is. And I want to give a plug that on June 8th, the Black is Back Coalition and the Hands of Uhuru movement are holding a webinar, and I'm inviting Joko to be a part of that. It's going to be entitled Black Education and the Struggle for Anti-Colonial Free Speech.
Yeah.
This webinar will feature Robin Kelly, Sharice Burden Staley,
Awesome.
Chairman Amaya Shatella, and Betty Davis of the Black is Back Coalition, and hopefully somebody from Joko as well. A book just to plug that I felt was a real good book, because I love Robin's work. Is our history has always been contraband, and for me this was important because as Chairman, as Mwezi said, Chairman has said as well, if he was accused of being paid by Russia to say Mary had a little lamb, he would not be facing 15 years in prison. It's because of the anti-colonial speech. Now, I think what's important for us as academics is to, and teachers for sure, because it's not just about the academy, down in my family were from, most of my family was from Louisiana before they came to Los Angeles area. And down south, all the women were teachers and all the men were ministers, but that's not how they paid their bills. How they paid their bills, they were sharecroppers, right? But once I found out that all the men were ministers and all the women were teachers, then I realized I was doomed to stand up in front of people and talk. So, and our youngest has that bug as well. And our oldest got the bug too, but she be trying to fake it. But I say this to say that I teach Introduction to Black Studies, and one of the first essays we read is by Walter Rodney. It's called African History in the Service of Black Liberation. And for those people who've read his Groundings with My Brothers, in many ways, it comes about a decade after Groundings with My Brothers, but it basically is in the light of Groundings with My Brothers, and basically suggesting that, look, we're not reaching back towards African history just for fancy tidbits. You know how every time people say, I know I'm a historian or something, and then they say, bet you didn't know that, bet you didn't know that, bet you didn't know that. So it's not one of those sort of things, but it's like Walter Rodney is like, okay, what can we learn from the history that was stolen from us, so that we can build that new society for us to live in. This is important for us to understand, and as we look back, we can show people what is possible for us moving forward, because what they've done by wiping out our history, they've wiped out any belief of anything else that is possible. Because some of the most radical people, some people that are willing to do very radical and bold and brave things, do not actually believe that we can be untethered from this social system. And I've seen it. I've seen people stand in front of a whole freeway full of traffic just to get people to love us, just to get people to see us, and things like that. But it's like the pursuit is, like in Mwezi was saying, is for power. So going back to your main point, people have been attacked by saying, from the river to the sea. People have been attacked by bringing up a settler colonialism, but that is why academics need to get organized. Joko Collective, Black is Back Coalition, the All African People's Development Empowerment Project, all these things represent intellectuals and academics understanding that the way we're going to do things is through organization. So I think that is the difference. People are being attacked. But to do that, we need to insist on organization.
And I really appreciate your comments on Walter Rodney and how we need to be viewing history, right? Because the point is not to be backward looking, but to use history for our future,
right?
Which is what any people are doing anyway, right?
Right. That's good, because when you colonize, you produce life, labor, value, and history for the colonizers. That's the thing about those last names. Like I said, when they go and say O'Neal, is the last name of one of the best basketball players ever, you produce a history for the O'Neals.
Right. Exactly.
And
the Bus family, right?
Right.
And the Laker brand, right? I mean, and the NBA brand, and all this, right? Yeah. And not even NBA after.
Exactly.
Right. Well, and that's why I appreciate that question too, because like these institutions, these campuses that are supposed to be there to, enlighten and to teach, like you said, this is where students are the most concentrated and learn to how to solve problems for the oppressor, and not for the people. And so when you raise this stuff, and as we said, on campuses we've experienced this, and many, there's probably not, and like you said, just trying to define what is settler colonialism, but then that's political, right? And one thing I appreciate about one of the first political publications that I read when I joined the movement was this piece by Mwezi Kinshasa called "The Role of African Intellectuals in the World." And it was really powerful because it really helps to define just, again, that there is no apolitical institution under slavery, right? You are either, for it or you fight against it. Like there is no in between. So being organized and tied to, organizations, like our biggest security is with the people and it's through organization. And so it's important to be tied to this, that we're not being spontaneously going out and losing our jobs because we, for the sake of, for what, but whether you do that or not, we face the consequence of being, facing retaliation, of this as well, because these schools are the epicenter of where these wars of ideas are deepened and are concentrated. And this is a war against, this is an ideological, struggle that is waging about the voice and the narrative of the working class and the voice of the, of the rulers, of the oppressors. And so I really appreciate that question. Yeah. Uhuru.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. They're the sites and all of that cultural overlay of keeping imaginations colonized, right? So you can't imagine something other than whatever success is supposed to look like in the system, or whatever freedom is supposed to look like within the system, when it's a system that does not produce freedom.
Right.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Aimé Césaire, his concept of poetic knowledge. Robin Kelly, who turned that into Freedom Dreams, because of the fact that Aimé Césaire had once said that he learned the French language so that he could turn the French language into a grenade and launch it back at the French. So he says that in Discourse on Colonialism. So the reason why I say that is because there is a seriousness involved in academic work, but if it's not tethered towards the liberation of our people, then it really is. Karl Marx talks about the young Hegelians and having these ideas that float up into the air and then just disappear, right? I mean, that is sort of the work, if it's not tethered towards something meaningful. One thing, the reason why organization is so important is because, see, a lot of what we deal with, especially unearthing the works of colonialism, can be very demoralizing. It can be very demoralizing if it's not tethered towards something that shows life after this. Because so academic work, if it's not tethered towards pointing people towards freedom, can actually be very pessimistic. Which is why then everyone want to do everything. They want to be all this other stuff except for dealing with what's in the world right now. But you can do both. You can show people that hope and freedom for a new future. Well, so I just want to shout out to the people who are making those righteous struggles on campus. We talked about Tiffany Willoughby Herrard. We talked about Robin Kelly. We talked about the Cedric Robinsons, who just passed away, but who passed away less than a decade ago, about 2016, if I'm correct. But his archive is being opened up at UC Santa Barbara. I want to salute Danny Widener, who's got an excellent book that just released called Third Worlds Within. Dennis Childs. I mean, these are all people who stepped out and used their position, and once they got their tenure, they didn't just sit back. And I was a student organizer. I was a student organizer at UCSD, University of San Diego, for ethnic studies when I was an undergrad and grad student, and we had to learn the difference between academic positions. We protected the untenured Black faculty, but made demands on the tenured Black faculty. They say, well, if you want more Black faculty, you need to stand up, but you also need to protect these people, because we know. So there's things we did. And then also as an educator who's also an organizer like myself, I educate the students and let the students talk. And so you educate the students and let the students talk. So the students, they study reparations. In my class are reading right now. The verdict is in, reparations now, and they're all doing projects on it. From San Diego State to University of San Diego. I mean, it's the San Diego State to San Diego Mesa College. My students are reading African internationalism.
There you go. You got to put it in front of them, right? Introduce it to let them engage.
Right.
And a call to the students too to get organized on these campuses, right? As well, and I mean, build a African internationalist student organization, right? Build a, this is our kind of organization, however you call it and name it. And one of the oldest institutions of the African People's Socialist Party is the Burning Spear newspaper, which is, again, still in print over 50 years. And I know there's one around here somewhere. Sometimes there's too many, or just there's around. So we'll pull one up so you could see it. But the Burning Spear newspaper comes out well, and here is, of course,
there we go.
this is probably one of the first.
It ain't one of the first, but it's an old one.
Yeah.
It's an old one.
Yeah, and just to say that when they here's one. Well, and when they attacked, when they made this attack on July 29th to the headquarters where the Burning Spear is printed, this was one of the headquarters that was also attacked, right? And this is where we're able to put out our voice and our communication to the world. And so these are just some things that I think it's important for us to continue to, even part of the anti-colonial struggle is engaging in anti-colonial activity. And these are all, institutions that we have for ourselves. Yeah, I think I saw you freeze, actually. Yeah. But yeah, so just a call to,
it's back
as
again.
Matsemela says,
I heard you.
Okay. Yeah, just a call to get organized, as Matsemela was saying. Yeah. Join Joko.
Yeah, join Joko. We are Joko too. Just to be clear, we Joko. We APSP, but we Joko.
Joko Collective, yeah.
I want to ask, we're coming up on close to the end of the evening, but there was something else I wanted to ask you. Oh, yes, that was it. It's in the news, but it's not in the news, actually. Then actually, the news is quite suppressed. There's so much to talk about. There's really a couple of things I want to ask. I was going to ask you about Haiti, right? The current situation in Haiti, and this, I saw something the other day, a headline about, invasion being imminent, another invasion into Haiti, and I don't think this was talking about, in the form of the Kenyans or any of the Caribbean countries. But actually U.S. troops. Is that so? If that's the latest spear, Haiti is on the front page.
On the May issue, no, but I don't know if you want to say more, but there's some excellent articles written by our Haiti expert. Shout out to Alikia Ngoma, who has written on, not just the history of Haiti, but also the class consciousness that is important in terms of the struggle of even looking at like Jean-Jacques Dessalines and Toussaint Louverture and And again, as we talked about intellectuals and, as we move up, up this, invisible, whatever ladder that we are, that the struggle of the working class. And, again, this was the first, victory that African people had after being captured, happened in, Haiti. And this is why Haiti is suffering, under this colonial, mode of production. And again, we can look at France and we can look at the Eiffel Tower and see these as actual reparations that are due to the African, to African people in Haiti, as a result of being punished for kicking the butts of the French and the Spanish and the, and the British and whatnot.
Too.
So yeah, so
right, the English, yep,
yeah,
yep, and
yeah. So go to theburningspear.com and you can read and just type in the search Haiti. And there's some really important articles there. But again, anybody can write for the Spirit too. We also wanted to make that, known too. So I don't know if that addressed your question.
Oh, it did. It did. And it reminded me that, again, what gets underreported, certainly in the mainstream, that the students in these encampments on the, various universities are making those connections.
Right.
That's
Correct.
Haiti, Congo, Sudan,
that's correct.
Venezuela. Yes. They are making those connections, and
that's correct.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
That's absolutely correct, and that's what we saw. We participated in a demonstration for the Congo and Palestine. This was 2 weekends ago in downtown Los Angeles, and people are making those connections, and they're making them in a way that aren't pitting African people against Palestinian people, but instead of calling out the hypocrisy and the one-track nature of the colonial media, which shifts. But you can't understand even the uprising in Palestine without understanding the continuous, for the last 3 or actually 4 years, of uprisings taking place throughout the continent of Africa. But I think this is why African internationalism is important, because at the same time we saw things in 2020 and 2021 taking place in Nigeria and in Swaziland and in South Africa. It's important to understand, no, these aren't things happening within these colonial borders. This is Africans striking up to overturn those borders that have been placed upon us. So to give people that vision of that collective vision, that's what African internationalism, ideology, and practice points. And that's why the reason we're here, African Liberation Day, is so important, because we say not yet Uhuru. Not yet Uhuru. Right. Some people oppose African Liberation Day because the forming of the Organization of African Unity. But we know that the Organization of African Unity actually was meant to foreclose on the vision of Nkrumah. April 15th, 1957 is actually the first African Freedom Day or African Liberation Day, and that marked the liberation of Ghana and the idea that there need to be one united Africa, no borders, socialist government. 1958, the All African People's Conference, organized by Nkrumah.
Yes.
So 63 was the outgrowth of that. But we also know that even when people like Nkrumah and people like Kenyatta and Kaunda and others, Nyerere, went against Nkrumah, it was actually the people from Egypt, the people from Tunisia, the people from Algeria who united with the vision of
starting to get. Who was that from Egypt?
Nasser. So you had Nasser, you had Ben Bella, you had Ben Barka, Tunisia, Algeria.
Oh. I think
so all of them uniting with Africa, with Nkrumah's vision. So our vision for Africa is Nkrumah's vision for Africa. Brother Yusuf is coming back. We just want to thank everybody who are watching. We want to thank everybody who are watching right now. As Brother Yusuf comes back. And remind everybody.
Yeah, he said my Wi-Fi.
Right. So, and we want to. It's okay to tell everybody to go to Uhuru 3 Tour Eventbrite.com.
Yes.
Go to Uhuru 3 Tour Eventbrite.com and be part of this weekend's events beginning on Thursday.
I'm back.
Yeah.
I was about to tell you to make sure you subscribe to the page, and I was thinking, what else can I say to?
They said it was free form, right?
Yeah.
But you know what?
I'm just glad it didn't drop y'all off, right? Like,
no. I want to salute you for your work. I want to salute you for your work, Comrade Yusuf, because I remember the 2022 Black is Back Black People's Conference we held that Sunday after the Black People's March, and the presentation you gave was one of the most it was one of the most centered materialist presentations on culture and counterinsurgency that I've ever seen presented. Probably the best, to be honest, because you were saying things and I was like, I hope he says this. And every time I said I hope he said that, you hit it. Yeah, and you went all the way back towards David Walker. Came all the way up.
That's right. That's right. It's coming back to me now.
I mean, remember the white lady who they basically killed her baby, and then she had to show the baby.
Exactly. What was that? Gene Seberg, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
So wow. I mean, the work that you were doing is beyond remarkable.
Thank you. Yeah, culture, right? I mean, it's how the propaganda works. It's how it gets naturalized, right? People think they're thinking their own ideas, right? Because it's the water we swim in, right? So we take it for granted.
Right.
That's correct.
Right. Well said.
And all those, I mean, everything is propaganda, right? That's one of the things I appreciated about what's her name, Mama Marimba Ani, right? And
Marimba Ani,
When she talked to me, the city itself is propaganda.
Yeah,
right.
Damn, that's profound. But yes, that's right. You don't think about it, but every time you pass Jefferson Boulevard and Washington Boulevard and Adams Boulevard, right, you're being propagandized. Right? So anyway, all these little things, all these little Mulholland Avenue. You're not like Mulholland is somebody, but.
Yeah,
all of that is working all the time.
Right. Yes.
Yeah,
It shows you, their icons, our history become. That's why it's important for us to use our culture as landmarks and as guideposts to point people where they need to go.
Right.
And that don't mean you got to go back and learn a whole bunch of different languages. If you do, that's cool. But the point is that when we get free, we're gonna have a new language. Chairman Matsemela says
exactly. Yes.
Chairman Matsemela says because the languages come when people interact with each other. So you tear down these borders between African people, we're gonna have a new language.
Right.
And new languages will continue to develop.
Exactly.
Right. We've been creating new languages, right? And
exactly.
it will continue. Exactly right. And you got a cultural base to build on, right?
Yeah,
right.
Everywhere we are, we have to build on.
That's important. That's why I think sort of we speak of dual and contending power. Not to get too sort of theoretical, but you got what they call the base and the superstructure. And superstructure forms the base. But the truth is, when you build in dual and contending power, especially our economic programs being attached to sort of a revolutionary vision for the future, you're actually building your own new superstructure, your own new base, your own new political economy, and then you build your superstructure, and then with the ideas we put out there, and then it reinforms the ability for us to fight for our own freedom. That's why I know we talking about a whole bunch of stuff, but you got to talk about the Maroons. You got to the way in which they represented that same sort of like we gonna strike out for freedom. We're not just gonna find a better position inside this system here. We're going to strike out for freedom. Right. We're going to direct people back towards, C.L.R. James. He says we got to turn away from Europe and turn towards Africa.
and turn towards Africa.
He says the problem Toussaint had was one of enlightenment, not darkness.
That's right.
Says
I love that.
Because they want to talk about dark Africa. He said the problem was his problem was he was enlightened, you know. And Dessalines' gift was he didn't know no French. He didn't read none of them French philosophers. Yeah. He knew that he was African and he needed to be free.
Yeah.
And he needed to be free, and the rest of us need to be free.
Right. Toussaint was remarkable, but he hopped on them ships thinking them French was going to treat him as a comrade.
Because he thought he was French. Right? French, right? A citizen of the Republic.
Never came back on that ship.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So you either
his folks told him, don't get on that ship.
Don't get on that ship. He said, no, it's gonna be okay. You know.
Yeah. They'll recognize me. I'm a patriot. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Okay. and we have what we have, right? I mean, yes. So.
Yeah, and here we are.
That's key, though, right? That those little recognitions is real basic, simple. Can you recognize what side you're on?
Yeah.
Yes. That's correct.
And you're either exactly, and I think that's
we're an hour in now, right? We're an hour in, and that was the idea. We could go about an hour.
Yeah, we did it.
Was there anything? No. So we did get to learn about the tour.
Yeah.
And you did mention the trial coming up in September, and folks trying to get folks down to Tampa.
To Tampa, Florida. Mm-hmm. Yes, they can learn more on the website.
Yes.
Yep. handsoffuhuru.org.
Yeah, that's it.
And just wanted to appreciate
.org.
And June 8th. The June 8th.
Uhuru.org/donate.
So you can, it's to donate, it's /donate. To see the events like the June 8th /events, to come to the trial /trial. We try to make it very easy. You come to the website and click on the menu. Yes.
I want to emphasize the donate. Right.
Okay, great. And I think that's /donate, please. Thank you, Brother Yusuf, because this is again, I really wanted to salute that, because this is to raise the resources to take us to trial, to be able to do everything, that we don't step into that courtroom without everything that we need to be able to put the state on trial, because those are the real criminals. And as you said, we just talked about, this system is crumbling. And so you're either for it or you fight against it. And we want people to be a part of the fight back, whether that's in the courtroom and after we beat these cases, so we can, really get free.
Good on.
Let's get free.
So we want to remind folks, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like and share. And we appreciate you being out there and spread the word. Comrades, Matsemela, Mwezi, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
YouTube Joko. World, we out.
We out.